Hello and welcome to the programme as we commemorate the 25th anniversary of the Brummie Road all-seater stand. It's fair to say that over the years, especially since this was taken in 1910, the Hawthorns has been evolving. 25 years ago, football grounds were subjected to new government-imposed all-seater rules, and as the 1993-94 season drew to a close, the Brummie Road stand was demolished, and we watched as the new structure replaced the familiar stand. The idea of all-seater stadiums, though, didn't appeal to everyone.
It's the freedom, isn't it? It's the freedom to move away from people you don't like, and the freedom to move around with people that you do like. And also, there's always something about being able to sing more. If you take it back to the days when I reluctantly did music at school, whenever the teacher wanted more, they always had you stand up. And I think there's very much an element of that, although perversely now, so many people stand up in the seats. It's sort of like gone full circle, hasn't it?
On Boxing Day 1994, the new all-seater stand opened for the game against Bristol City, and anyone who was there rose from their seats to applaud a 1-0 victory to the Baggies. A new era had begun, and the Hawthorns had been transformed into a near 25,000-seater all-seater stadium. Now, back in this month in 1963, a new young player made his debut. He only played 16 games for West Bromwich Albion. His name, if you haven't guessed already, was Mickey Fudge. Now, I met up with Mickey recently and he told me how he almost signed for Wolves, but the Albion actually wanted to pay him more. Wow.
The Wolves were going to put 150 quid in the bank for me, give me £7 a week. But West Brom offered me £200 in the bank. They put in and they offered me £9 a week, so I signed for West Brom.
The Albion will offer him more than the Wolves.
Yeah, at that time, and I found out, like, because Major Keys was the chairman at the time, you know, and he came to me, he said, "Oh, I'm glad," you know, and he shook me hand. He said, "You do well. It's a family club," and it was great. And I mean, like Ronnie Allen, who was just finishing as I came, but he was nice, and Bobby Robson, Donnell, Willie, and Stewart, and all. They were good professionals, like, and they speak to you, not as though they'd ignore you. And if you've done anything wrong, they clip you around the ear hole anyway. You know,
Yeah.
They wouldn't let you get big-headed in no way. You was part of the club, and the club, you know, was all together. Yeah. And I loved it. And I mean, I was in my element. I thought, this is it. What a life. Well, I was actually fell on the day. I was watching my brother-in-law play at Darlaston, of all places, and. Because I didn't have a clue, because I played the day before. I played the day before in a Central League game against the Villa, and it was a game where if we won the Central League, but if Villa beat us, they'd win the Central League because we came runners up. And what happened was, I was watching the game and it came over the tannoy. Will Mickey Fudge please go to the somebody wants to see. When I got there, it was Johnny Jarman. So Johnny Jarman says, "You're playing?" I said, "Playing what?" You know, I didn't realise. I said, "I played yesterday." You know, and he said, "No, you've been picked to play. So I've got to get you to the ground." I said, "Oh, I hadn't shaved," and I said, "Get your blazer." So I had to go home, get changed, put my blazer on, and I headed off to the ground. Like, you know, it was unbelievable. I couldn't believe it. My head was sort of like spinning, thinking, "Christ, I'm playing with all these lads," like, you know. And on the day, I had a lot of telegrams and that afterwards and stuff and all this, like, but on the day it just worked out for me. Chippy was brilliant. I mean, Chippy Clark. If you couldn't score goals with Chippy in the side, you know, and Johnny Kay was it, and that, like, you know, and on the day it was a joy to play with these, like, we just clicked as a team.
Well, that's it from the first half of the programme. Now for the second half, we're going into Europe, as the Albion have done in the past. This time we're going to Vienna. and we're going to meet this mystery guest, the man with the black hat. Can you work out who he is? We're in Vienna to meet a man who needs no introduction to fans of West Bromwich Albion. He may have made only 62 appearances at the start of the decade, but his effort and enthusiasm made a lasting impression. His name?
Scharner! Whoa! Scharner!
And he's best remembered for a famous T-shirt.
Funny you should say that.
Of course, that was my best moment at West Brom, I think, for the Baggies. And of course, winning at the Villa Park. What else can you ask as a West Bromwich player? And of course, scoring the winning goal. It's even sweeter, to be honest.
What do you remember about the day, the atmosphere?
Yeah,
The reaction?
great. It feels like it was yesterday, to be honest, in my mind. So I still have the pictures and also the celebration in front of, was it 3,500 or 3,000 Baggies supporters? And yeah, the supporters went crazy.
So the T-shirt,
Yes.
did you think, I'm going to score a goal today, I'm going to put this shirt on?
Actually, I put it on the week before against the Wolves because I was quite focused to score in either games, you know. So, but after the Wolves game, I thought a bit and I thought, yeah, I'm gonna score at the Villa Park. I need to score actually because otherwise the shirt is for nothing, you know. And yes, of course, I scored.
And
That design, was that your son, was it?
Yeah, my family made it actually. My two little sons, yeah, and my wife, and it was great actually.
You still have it?
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Yes, it's still.
how much was the fine for your yellow card?
No, I didn't get a fine. The normal FA fine, I think it was 50 quid or so.
Shall we have a whip round later?
And we'll be having more from Paul Scharner later in the programme. Now, Terry Wills recalls the days when West Bromwich Albion played back-to-back fixtures against Newcastle United on Christmas Day and Boxing Day in 1956.
Albion were due to play Newcastle United. Christmas morning at the Albion, slipped and slithers all over the place, 1-1 and we were due to go to Newcastle on Boxing Day, starting from Smerick at 12 o'clock at night. The snow started to come down. We thought, is it worth it? Is it worth it? We were advised not to go. We did. Got on the coach, stopped and started. Horrendous journey. It really was horrendous. We finally got there about 8 o'clock in the morning, I think it was. Walked to the ground, and it literally was 2 foot deep in snow. No way they're going to play this, I said to myself. Anyway, we found a gate open, walked onto the pitch in good referee fashion, put our foot. No chance of playing today. All of a sudden the voice shouted, "What you lot doing? Get out of here!" In a Newcastle accent, of course. So we shuffled off to the city centre, waiting for the game to be called off. Got back to the ground to find the referee had passed it fit for play. Absolute nonsense. They played it. Was it worth the journey? We lost 5-2. So it wasn't. But it just had to be there because it was Albion. Simple as that. Simple as that.
So back with us again in Vienna, and we're still with Paul. So you playing Christmas, that would have been very unusual for you. So when you came across to play in England, were you surprised to be playing on Christmas, Boxing Day?
It was a bit of a shock, to be honest, because in Austria, Christmas time is just for the family. Everybody stopped working and just have time with the families. And it was a bit strange at the beginning, playing on the 26th, 28th, on the 1st.
Yeah. And did you
it was hard.
Train on Christmas Day?
Yes, we did. We did train, but in the afternoon. Yeah. So we had off in the morning, so to celebrate Christmas, and in the afternoon we had a training session.
So the wife wasn't too upset?
Yeah, of course, because she lived also in England, you know, and there was no family near us, so that's why it was not that big problem for my family, also for my wife actually. But for the family at home in Austria, it was a big problem because it was the first time I was not at home at Christmas Day.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Ray, and we'll have more from Paul later in the programme. But first of all, have a look at this.
The smell of tobacco was absolutely bloody awful because not so much these days, obviously. In those days, everybody was given a cigar at Christmas and everybody more or less smoked. And if you sat surrounded by a bunch of people who were all smoking cigars, I'm not kidding you, the smell would just make my eyes run. It really would.
If you missed programmes 1 and 2 in the series, you can get them on tntnews.co.uk. Now in our January programme, we'll be meeting Igor Ballis again, and I tell you, you don't want to miss it. And finally, tune in at 11 o'clock on Christmas morning for a special message from Albion royalty. Boxing Day 1992 will go down in history of West Bromwich Albion as a game that not many people saw. The reason for that, wasn't many people there, but because of the fog. This is the photograph that I took in the Smerick end. As you can see, you couldn't actually see much.
Chester was kind of weird. Was it around Christmas? There was a really big gate, so I didn't want to lose that particular time. But the fog was pretty grim. My wife and I were sat in Halfords Lane on the halfway line where we normally are, and we knew something had happened because we could hear a sort of muffled roar from the Birmingham Road end, which sort of swirled a bit because of the fog, but we hoped that we'd scored. Well, you couldn't see anything at all. There was some just distant figures looming in the fog, and then Paul Raven come rushing out, pointing to himself as if to say, you know, I've scored, it was me. So we cheered a bit belatedly, you know, a bit sort of like celebrating a goal under VAR these days, that, you know, you have to celebrate it minutes later and it doesn't feel quite the same.
And I was on the gantry, and from what I can remember of it, only the referee in the world could see both goals. But apparently that was the rules at the time, so the game was played or the game started and subsequently finished. During the commentary, I quickly realised that nobody in the ground could see both goals, and very few people could see a third of the pitch. So it sort of jumped in my head to embroider the way Albion was playing in a positive way. And if my memory serves me right, we won 2-0, so there was something in that. And I seem to remember Paul Raven getting at least one goal and coming to the halfway line to tell the manager, so I wondered how much he could see as well tactically.
So there we are then, that's it from Vienna. So from Paul and myself, goodbye and thanks for watching.
Scharner, whoa, Scharner, whoa. He comes from Austria, he's